So the business value toolkit is something that the PowerCat team have put together to address some of the most common challenges that we find with customers. As customer maturity increases, we're starting to see that the more mature the customer, the more interested in measuring the business value of Power Platform the customer is. However, they are held back somewhat because of the following kind of three main themes. One is the scale. So typically when an organization is at this level of maturity, they often have thousands and in some cases tens of thousands of apps and flows that have been built by citizen developers, and there's no clear starting point for them. So they're unsure on where to start. The second point is time and resource. Another challenge they have is, these teams are often stretched and they feel that they don't have the time or the resources to invest in actually assessing the business value of Power Platform solutions. If you take into consideration, like the average customer generates 2 to 3 success stories internally per year, you can see that having resource availability and the skills to create success stories is a challenge for our customers. Finally is skill. So when low-code teams start to talk about the business and they start to talk about business value, it can be and often is the first time they're actually starting to talk about this topic. And when you talk to various parts of your organization, you realize that the concept of value is diverse and very subjective. If you talk to somebody in finance about value, you will get a very different answer to somebody in marketing, operations, sales, or IT. So they don't often feel they have the skills to address that. Now, this slide that you're looking at is actually about a workshop that we have in Kickstarter, but I'm using it to kind of outline the purpose of the tooling that I'm about to show you. So the tooling aims to address these three challenges: scale, time, and resource and skills, by providing a framework to manage the complexity and the scale, and bring clarity to customers for their assessment processes. The tooling kind of fast tracks the creation of stories and ensures that they're written in a way that resonates with the various stakeholders within an organization. Now, the point of it in terms of like skill is the tooling also assesses the value, and so in theory it should evolve the customer to a point where value isn't this abstract topic. It's something that's that they have in place that is aligned with the goals of their organization. I'm not going to show any more of these slides because this video is purely about the tooling. And what I want to show you next is part one of the solution. So we've worked on this this business value toolkit. It contains kind of two apps that are used. One is used to describe the organization, the objectives and goals of the organization, and the average cost of things. And then we have an app that's used to capture and track the value. So let's take a quick peek through the admin app. This is what we call the business value admin app, where there are 3 screens in this app that need to be populated before you start using the toolkit. The first one describes the organization, right? So before we can really define objectives and before we can understand the average cost of things, we need to know about the organization. So on this screen, the admin will put in, will enter the various departments that make up the organization. And here you can see we have Contoso being kind of like the top level of the hierarchy. Then underneath that we have all of the typical departments that you would see within an organization. When that's completed, the next step is to centralize the objectives and goals of the organization. Let's take a look at one, for example. This is a strategic objective that is assigned or part of the Health and Safety Directorate, and this describes what the Health and Safety Directorate are aiming to achieve. You can see that the name of the objective is to foster a safe and healthy workplace, where they're trying to prioritize the well-being of employees by creating a safe place to work, mitigating hazards, and promoting employee well-being. The first part of this form focuses very much on the description of what the objective is. The next section is really a quality check. An objective or goal should have the following three things. It should have a verb that describes the main focus of effort, what the target is, whether it's something to do with money, whether it's decreasing the amount of money spent or time spent, decreasing or increasing the quantity of something. There are various measures here. Then we have the time period, so how long are we going to be doing this for? The last drop down here for key result area is very much for for reporting, so you can start to slice up the data that you're collecting by the result area, whether things are to do with customer satisfaction or revenue growth, as an example. The next part of this form is how are you going to track progress? What is it that you're looking to measure? And what we use on this screen is we use generative AI to extract three tags, and these tags represent things that you're going to use as measures. So we're going to look for a reduction in workplace incidents, accident frequency, and safety training completion. So once you have collected the strategic objectives and goals of the part of the organization that you are working with, you need to then define the average cost of things. So here, for example, being as we were just looking at the health and safety one objective, we can take a look at the average cost of a workplace injury to the organization is $10,000. You can see the average cost of delivering something, the average cost for a support ticket, the average employee salary, the average cost to process an invoice. You start to build up all of these calculators, and when you've done that, you're then ready to start assessing the value of Power Platform solutions. For that, we use this application. This application is called the Business Value Capture. There are a number of ways that this application is launched. It can be launched by the app maker, which is the experience you are now viewing, or it can be launched by an administrator. So the administrator would select an application from their asset inventory, maybe one of the most popular applications, or an app that looks to have the characteristics of something that needs to be measured by this tool. They would trigger a flow, and the flow will send an adaptive card to the app owner asking them to perform an assessment. And when they click the button in the adaptive card, it launches this app, but with the context of the application that we're actually assessing. So this kind of explains the 4 steps that this process walks them through. And because I am now the app maker, I can view a list of the apps that I own, and I can select one for assessment. You'll see a slight difference here, this dark green theme. The whole branding of this application is managed through themes, but this implies that my app has actually already been assessed, and you can see when I last assessed it. So I'll select an app. The way that we address the challenges that we most commonly see with customers is through storytelling. We find that most typically, this is just a pre-canned story that I have. We find that most typically citizen developers, they start to experiment with the Power Platform because they have a set of problems, right? So we ask them in their own words, we give them some coaching text here. We ask them to share the problem that they had. So I'm using a health and safety inspection story where you can see I had a team, I was part of a team that was responsible for managing health and safety inspections across 90 depots. So we'll give the story a title, Health and Safety Inspection Demo. Whoops. Demo story. So I describe the problem. I describe who it was impacting, how it was impacting them, and what the cost would have been if we had decided to leave things as exactly as they are. And when I've saved that, I can move on to the next component. We've broken down storytelling into 5 components to make this something that's easy for people to understand. Storytelling itself is a difficult skill to develop, especially when it comes to talking about a Power App. So we asked them next to describe the solution. So what was it that they built? Is there anything that they really wanted to to share with us about the application? The next part of the storytelling framework is for them to describe the challenges and the obstacles that they faced. So one of the challenges could have been learning Power Apps. As a health and safety inspector, maybe my primary experience is not in app development, so I may have had a challenge in terms of learning low code. Or it could have been a description of the obstacles that maybe I faced, was maybe getting the app through a security review or getting my colleagues to actually use the application. And this, so far, really has very little to do with value assessment, but it's starting to build up the story and paint the picture of what it is that I actually did. The next step is to talk about the value. So now we've released version 1 of the app. What were some of the immediate benefits of using it and developing it? What did we start to notice? What changed? And then we finish off by asking them to share what is next. So they've built this app. What is it that your future plans are? When they've done that, we can carry on. We click proceed. Now, what we do for this next step is we use generative AI to take that story that I'd written in my own words, excuse me, to take the story that I'd written in my own words and enhance it and restructure it. And this is purely because we want to provide a consistent pipeline of stories for low-code teams. So if you remember, the average team, can produce about 3 stories a year. Well, we're able to significantly improve that number based on the number of assessments that are completed. But to make sure that we've got real value, we want to ensure that there's a common kind of theme or structure to these stories. So here you'll see that there's still the problem section. That's just been restructured or reworded. And then the story kind of talks a little bit about me. This is my account here, Ethan Brooks. It's my account in this tenant, and my journey. Then we have the obstacles and challenges, the value in the solution, and what's next. I am able to, edit this, make changes. When I'm happy, I approve it by copying the characters here, and I'm able to proceed. What we do next is we take that story and then we analyze it against each of the objectives and goals of the organization. Now, bear in mind at this point, the reason I started building an app in Power Platform was because I had a specific set of challenges, and that was having a consistent approach to health and safety inspections. So that was my initial problem. And the value that I took away from the first version of this application would have been having a consistent approach to managing health and safety inspections. So that would have been the initial value. Now, how do we look deeper into some of the other potential ways that this application is contributing to the objectives and goals, not just in my part of the organisation, but maybe across the entire organisation? So here you can see that we've completed our analysis, and for each objective or goal, we take the story and we use generative AI to check and analyse for alignment and impact. So how closely does the story align to the objective or goal, and what kind of impact would it have? Now, my task here as the app owner is to agree, right? So you can see I've built a health and safety inspection app, and here's a health and safety directorate objective. You can see a very strong alignment and very strong impact. I can click on summary, and then I'm able to see exactly why this analysis was completed. It's telling me from the story it's managed to pick up a 15% decrease in safety incidences and a reduction in inspection time. I can also view the objective where we're looking to reduce the number of workplace incidents. So this is a good fit. So I'll select that one. And when I've completed this, I'm ready to move on. I might also say that employee satisfaction. I could say here, you can see this has come back with a strong impact because I'm contributing to making the organisation a safer place to work. So I could agree with that one as well. On the next screen, we have, ignore the numbers, I should have cleared that up before I did the demo. But essentially, on this screen, we can calculate the tangible value. So I can say here, I've reduced the number of workplace incidents. And if you remember at the beginning of this demo, when I was setting up the admin app, you'll see that we used AI to extract some measures. And this is where we surfaced that. So I can say that I've reduced the number of workplace incidents. Now, before the implementation of my app, maybe there were 147 incidents per year. After, we could say that there were 126. You can see that's made a reduction of 14% or 14.29%. So that's great. That's kind of aligning to the objective. And then I can select the average cost of things. Again, if you remember, we had this concept of having the average cost of things. I can say that, well, because we've reduced the number of workplace incidents and accidents, it's probably contributed to a saving of £210,000. For the other one, we could say that we've improved or increased employee satisfaction. Now, before, we might say that we had a score. If you can imagine, or a rating, and imagine that score being 78, and afterwards we could say it was 99. And we might suggest that that's actually saving the organisation based on how much it costs to replace an employee once they leave, of £165,000. When we're done, we click complete, and now we can see what we call value cards. And a value card is really a representation of the amount of information that we've actually captured. You can see on this value card, for example, here, we have a single sentence which is describing how my application is contributing towards the objective or goal of fostering a safe and healthy work environment by transforming safety inspections, reducing incidents, and improving efficiency. You can see the impact that it's having here, and the same here. Now, all of this information is stored and saved in Dataverse, which allows customers to build very, very comprehensive and detailed reporting.